You're listening to the Free Thinkers Club Podcast Network.
What's going on, folks? Welcome back to another episode of All Factors Considered. We're breaking down UFC 260, the post show, right? The madness happened this weekend, and I'll tell you what, man. I got my co-host here as always, AJ. Man, I need to ask you this. It's been a long time since we've been in school, right? In like elementary school, middle school, and back in the day, back in the good old days, right? When we was in school, they'd have the chalkboards. It'd be the end of the term. They make you go clap out the erasers and all that. And I hadn't reminisced on chalk in quite some time until this weekend, because you know what UFC 260 was? It was chalky, man. Vegas went 9-1. Almost every single betting favorite won tonight, or on Saturday at UFC 260. And man, this was a tough one to call, but not really at the same time. So that's neither here nor there. But listen, man, I need first and foremost, I need some reactions before we even get into the record recap, man. How scary did Francis Ngannou look on Saturday night?
Ooh, my goodness, Derek. The scariest thing about him is he knows how to wrestle. Like, holy shit. And then not only that, he knows how to not blow his gas tank after the first round. Like, dude, oh my God. His fear level went from being the baddest, scariest man and puncher in the division to being the baddest, scariest man on the planet, all-around fighter. Though it's crazy, bro. Yeah, horrifying. I
agree. I am just as horrified as you. I share that with you, man. So we'll talk about that in just a couple seconds, man. Let's do a little record recap. UFC 260, man. This is like week 3 in a row that it's been a wash, right? 3-2 for me, 3-2 for you. I missed out on I missed out on the biggest one. I picked Miocic. Ngannou proved me wrong on that one. And I also missed out on a very beautiful knockout in Jamie Mullarkey. He upset Khama Worthy. And you got that one right, man. But which ones did you get wrong, right? It was Miocic and just one other.
Miocic and then the T-Wood. Sometimes you go with your boy, and he did what we said. He came, bro. He showed up. He hurt Luque, but it's a fight game. So
exactly, man. So here, let me start the clock and let's get into it. Assess the damage, man. So where do you want to start, AJ? It's a wash once again. Where do you want to start?
Might as well start with the T-Wood.
All right, let's go. Yeah, let's go with the T-Wood, man. So first and foremost, that is the guy that you want to see. The way he came out, his fight style, opening it up with a big crash, a big car accident just to start off the fight. I said, okay, T-Wood is for real, because my whole thing going into this was the psychology. I was like, this dude's questioning himself. I don't know if he'll be able to pull the trigger. Now, we can argue, maybe he overcompensated a little bit this time around. He pulled the trigger a little too hard, you know what I'm saying? But give me some impressions, man. Obviously, just so the folks know, if you didn't tune in, Vicente Luque, he wins via submission, a Darce choke. He becomes the first man in Tyron Woodley's career to submit him and the third man to finish him. Now, Tyron Woodley's back-to-back, he's been finished in back-to-back fights, one against Colby Covington, now Vicente Luque, but he looked very impressive while this fight lasted, man. And when you got two knockout artists like that, someone has to go down. Unfortunately, it was T. Wood by submission, but nonetheless, man, give me some thoughts on what you saw in the action so far from the Woodley perspective.
From the Woodley perspective, Derek, I was hyped. Like, I was so excited that he was actually coming out full foot on the gas, walking forward. He would have his moments where he'd step back and check and realize and stuff, man. And he was looking really good. And honestly, I thought it was going to be a round 1 finish. I thought he had him hurt. Vicente Luque just showed how durable he is, man. He's been in the fight game for a long time. And he even said later in his post-fight interview, he saw that once he got hurt, he saw T. Wood realize and see red and start going at it. So he knew he was going to come in. And all credit to Vicente Luque, but I was very impressed with what I saw Tyron Woodley do, man. He came out and he really put that he was, did what he said he was going to do, which made me excited as a fighter and as a fan. I was happy for him.
So let me ask you this then, man. Do you think, let's be objective for a second, right? You the boss, you Dana White for today, right? Are you cutting T. Wood, man? That's 4 losses in a row. That's 2 finishes back-to-back. This dude's 38 years old, not getting any younger. I mean, let's be honest here. Yes, you have lost to the champion, number 1, number 2, and now number 10. But like I said, number 10 is a lot worse than number 1 or number 2 or the champ. So does he get cut? I need a definitive answer.
A definitive answer, Derek. Yeah. Definitive answer. I would say no. My heart's leaning to no, probably just because I'm a fan. I would say no, man. He's been doing this for so long that he has a lot. No reason he can't be a gatekeeper, but 4 losses, man. 4 losses is rough. Yep. So and Dana White doesn't like him. So do I think he's getting cut? I hope not.
Yeah.
Probably though.
I hear you. This is the one thing I was gonna say in defense of like the gatekeeper perspective. Like he could still sell a lot of tickets. People are going to watch him fight, especially now that we're getting fans back in arenas and whatnot. But yeah, he could be a really good gatekeeper, man. He could be that dude that is like, all right, man, you really want to test yourself against somebody, but we're not willing to put you up against 1 through 5 yet. All right, here's Tyron Woodley. The only problem is he's asking for a lot of money, man, and that's when the UFC says, all right, man, if you're not willing to take a pay cut, you got to bounce. And at the end of the day, Woodley fulfilled the promise to himself. I hope he retires, to be honest, man. I hope that he retires and doesn't get cut, because at this point, what are you fighting for? Dude, you've defended your belt a bunch of times. You were a champion. You're going to go down in the history books. I mean, I just don't know what there's left to fight for at this point, unless he's looking to get back to another championship run. And let's be honest right now, in the welterweight division, that's such a crowded, stacked division. Do you anticipate Tyron Woodley entering the title picture again in the next couple years?
I really don't. I think the game has grown so much. I really don't. Like you said, I would much rather CT Wood retire than CT Wood get cut. But I really don't think he's going to be anywhere near the upper echelon of fighters, especially in the 170-pound division. It's hard, man. It's hard. He did come out and he looked really impressive, but no, I really don't think he's going to be champ again. I would love to see him fight, though.
Yeah, no, understood. And it comes down to the point now where we have to say, like, all right, man, T Wood, if he would have landed a little more flush with that right hand, we would be talking about like, oh, is this dude making another title run? So it's the nature of the game, man. It's a very fickle game, and it's what have you done for me lately, and 4 losses in a row, like you said. Doesn't look very good. But let's talk about Vicente Luque, because he actually won the fight, man. So this is what's important, dude. First and foremost, Vicente Luque gets rocked with the opening punch, and I'm like, okay, that's it. T Wood, that's it. He slept him standing up, right? But what was super surprising to me is that, or it's not surprising, this is actually exactly what I called, right? Didn't I say, AJ, I said, if Tyron Woodley walks forward, you're going directly into Luque's game plan. You need to be a little more hesitant. That way he can't get his striking off. What happened? He got caught in the chaos, right? He caused the chaos, but this was like the thing that stood out to me the most. I thought Tyron Woodley actually was asleep standing up by one of Vicente Luque's shots. Like, I thought he was literally like, his eyes were like this, and he was just kind of standing back, hands all the way down, and Vicente Luque is like, oh, okay, well, what's up? Straight shots, doing all that good stuff, man. So that goes to show that Vicente Luque's power is just ridiculous. If you could do that to Tyron Woodley, press the button on him like that, I think he's going to be a scary matchup for people moving forward, man. And we'll talk matchmaking later, but I was very, very impressed by Vicente Luque. It goes to show that he can be durable enough to withstand these firefights, which we already know that about him. But to do it against Tyron Woodley is a lot different than some of the other opposition that he has faced. So nonetheless, like I said, we'll hit the matchmaking later, but this is a huge, huge win. And I anticipate top 6 and up, you know what I mean, from here for Vicente Luque, excuse me. Let me put respect on my man's name. Vicente Luque is going to be doing big things in the upcoming future, man. But let's just, since we're doing unorthodox, you know what I mean, bout order here, let's move on to the Suga Show, man. Hold on, bro. First and foremost, Sean O'Malley had not 1 knockout. He had 2 knockouts that night. And like the beauty of that entire performance was that I think if he really wanted to, he could have ended the fight at any point. Do you agree? Do you agree with that statement?
Oh yeah. I think Almeida had a couple moments where he might have had Sugar in danger, but I think, I think Sugar could have easily ended that fight anytime. He was playing with his food a little bit in the second round, a little too much, especially for the fan and me, where I was a little worried.
Well, I just looked at it like this. I said, like, dude, like, he's not ranked right now, and for obvious reasons, right? You lose to Chito Vera, then things are like, all right, can we really bring you up here? You're going to be on the shelf for a while, all right, whatever. But this went to show that he's levels beyond his competition, levels above. When you are looking like, how can I get the Showtime finish, as opposed to I just need to finish this guy, that just shows me that it's like, he told Joe Rogan himself, he says, look, man, I need to do something sweet. He's like, if I'm going to knock this dude out, I need to do something sweet. I'm not trying to get that little ground and pound finish. Like, that's whack. I need this video to go viral. I need to continue my winning ways like that. And he did it, man. It is legitimately the Suga Show. And I'm really interested on where he goes next, man, because he has to be ranked next. He has to. And once you start moving up those rankings, it's like, all right, man, it's not too long before you get to a championship, especially with a dude with the draw of Sean O'Malley. But what stood out to me the most was the footwork, man. Footwork was impeccable. What stood out to you? What was something that you said, oh, you've grown since the Chito Vera fight? We didn't really see much of him in that fight, but what's something that stood out to you that shows that Suga Show is still growing?
What showed most to me, Derek, was his patience.
Sure.
He had him hurt, and it kind of showed a little too much when he didn't finish the fight in round 1. He showed a little, I mean, like you said, a little more entertainment than the savagery of just fighting. But what I like the most, man, he was picking his shots, and you could really see him deciding what he wanted to do based off of what he gave Thomas Almeida. And that to me just showed the mind game of Suga Show is impressive, man. And that's one of the biggest things to deal with, because we already know the hands and the feet are there. So as long as, you know, he can outthink you too, man, that's a dangerous fighter right there.
Yeah, I agree. And, you know, he's been doing this for a couple of different fights, but this is the thing that proved to me. I was like, growing up as a mixed martial artist from the jump, not a BJJ practitioner who learned MMA, not a boxer who jumps into MMA, not a kickboxer, not a wrestler, but a dude who came up on straight MMA. I don't know if you noticed Sean O'Malley doing the head fakes. You know, he's literally, that's a basketball move, dude. They teach you that in basketball. So for me, I'm just like, okay, dude, like he's taking so many different parts of the game and he's like bringing it together in a package to where I don't know who could beat that, man. I would like to see him against a really good wrestler next to see, you know, what type of matchup that we get from there. But ultimately, man, Suga Show was impressive. He was super impressive. I don't have anything else to say that's a negative, because Joe Rogan, I thought he was hating on him in the commentary a little bit. And AJ, turn me down just a little bit. I'm getting a little bit of feedback in the headphones, man. But I thought Joe Rogan was hating just a little bit, right? I thought Rogan was kind of being like, oh, he's playing. He's not being serious enough. And Suga Show was like, hey, man, I got the knockout. And a win is a win is a win. And it was even more impressive. Honestly, the third round knockout was a little more impressive than what the first round would have been. So I don't know, man. I got nothing bad to say. Is there anything we can say about Thomas Almeida? I feel bad for the guy.
I feel bad for the guy because I really do think his style lent perfectly to Suga Show's style. So I feel bad that he got straight up the shun from the UFC brass. You know, they threw him to the wolves on that one. But I mean, he showed great heart, he showed great resilience, and like I said, he had a couple times in there where he did have Sugar a little on the back foot, not necessarily hurt, not in danger, but a little on the back foot.
I've never seen a dude eat so many flush shins to the face before in my life and stay standing. Like, I've never seen it. And he's the toughest dude, man. But you want to be known for more than just being tough, right? And that's the thing is Thomas Almeida, man. This is just the devastating part about it. You look at his record, dude is 22-5 now. Dude came in like his whole entire career, dude was like this undefeated dude who was just smashing people and loss after loss after loss after loss, man. It's just the psychological, man. It's psychological. I feel bad, but I do think that the UFC truly did feed him to the wolves in this one, man. He was all like, I'll give you a shot to prove yourself, but at the end of the day, I think they knew what was going to happen in this one, man. It was kind of over from the start, but let's move on to that women's flyweight bout, man. Miranda Maverick gets a unanimous decision win against Gillian the Savage Roberts, man. And the thing that we need to take away from this, the really important thing, I think, is that the UFC probably should be a little bit patient with Miranda Maverick, right? They should probably let her build up and get that experience. She got the grappling in, you know, today, right? And she's known as a Muay Thai practitioner, but I said in the preview show, she got real deal skills everywhere you go. But I think that she has this plan. And AJ, I don't want to be rude, man, but I feel like she is a little Michael Chandler-ish. You know what I mean? I'm not talking about skill. I'm talking about like on the mic, right? And I don't really like it. And I mean, who cares what I think, right? But I just think it's a little forced. I think that she's like, I have this plan and like, I'm going to do this stuff. Oh, excuse me. I have this plan and I'm going to like stick by this plan. I'm going to beat up Antonina Shevchenko. Then I'm going to go beat up the champ. And it's like, dude, this is your second UFC fight. Like, pump the brakes a little bit, homie. You know what I'm saying? What did you think of the performance? And do you think that she needs to improve on the mic skills? What you think? You think we need a little something there?
I 100% agree, man. She's almost a triple C cringe, brother. Yeah. Like it was rough because the worst part about it is you saw it was staged. Like you could see just her. She had that plan. She stuck to it. I mean, it's good. Yeah. You should always line up your next fight. That's awesome. Yeah, but definitely get a PR person who's gonna do a little less, a little more for you, I guess, is the best way. No, but I was really impressed. I mean, we saw this coming, both of us. She was very talented, very composed. It was a good fight. It was a good fight. I didn't really have much. And I do think for sure they need to pump the brakes a little bit because you don't want her to end up like the rest of the women's division with up and down records. They've all won against each other. They've all lost against each other. It's just so much muddy chaos in there that you want her to be take the boxing approach, feed her some up and comer. Feed her some people, some fights, but yeah, you definitely need to do something in the women, all the women's divisions personally.
I think the UFC has learned, or hopefully that they will have learned from the Macy Barber situation, right? I think they kind of rushed her up just a little bit too quickly, and we don't want Miranda Maverick turning into that. Now, one thing I was concerned with, I have to preface this, like we just said, dude, stunning performance. It was very spectacular to see her out grapple a savage grappler like Gillian Robertson, who she actually, the UFC, here's the thing about the rankings, man. The UFC like pushed her up to 15 randomly, like for absolutely no reason. She was out the rankings. I think it was just to like spice up 260, being like, we got to have more than 2 ranked fighters on this card, right? So put the little 15 spot. Now Miranda Maverick jumps straight into that 15 spot, and all that good stuff. But nonetheless, Gillian Robertson, is absolutely no joke, man. I'm still very, very high on her. I just think she's had a very tough strength of schedule, and she's gonna have to get it back against somebody who is a little less proficient in the striking, so that at least she could start, wrapping that game up. But I'm a little concerned about Miranda Maverick because you see she's had struggles, and she's had a little bit of trouble making weight twice, 2 fights in a row, you know what I mean, in the UFC. And when she was asked, hey, are we thinking bantamweight is in your future? You're having a little bit of a tough time on the scale. She says, absolutely not. That would never happen. And I'm like, okay, I know you got this plan, dude. Like, I get it. You got the plan. But at the same time, you got to make weight, right? So it's like, dude, you're like 23 years old, and we've seen as you get older, it gets a lot harder to make that weight consistently. So I think that she needs to be a little more open-minded. I know you might not have the same strategy and the same skills at 135 pounds, but at the end of the day, you don't want to deplete yourself at 125 and then start getting starched in that way. Just, it's like that mental thing. And it's why we always talk back and forth about, like, can we ever get rid of weight cutting? You're going to say no, because people are going to be like, I know I weigh 165, but I can't fight 155 pounders or 145 pounders. I got to go down to 135 because I got the biggest advantage. I'm longer, I'm taller, all these things. And I get it. But at the same time, man, we got to be a little bit more open-minded. And at the end of the day, this is what the UFC wants. That's the thing about the UFC just in general, right? The UFC is going to dictate what's the next path for Miranda Maverick. She doesn't have enough clout yet to necessarily be calling the shot, but it is what it is. Like I said, very, very impressive performance, man. Not much to talk about. That was just kind of some of the peripherals of that matchup, man. But like I said, man, Vegas was very chalky. We knew this one was coming, and there was not one moment in the fight where I thought that Miranda Maverick was truly in trouble, except once when Gillian Robertson took her back, and nothing really came out of that. But nonetheless, man, so at this point, man, let's just hit the first fight of the night, then we'll talk about the main event, right? So the first fight of the night lasted nothing but like a minute, right? Jamie Mullarkey, man, he gets the left hook knockout on Khama Worthy. Dude was looking like a seasoned crisp boxer, and it's the same thing he did against Brad Tavares and Ziam. I keep forgetting his first name. It starts with an F, but wow. Ziam. Faraz, there we go. It's the same thing that he did, right? He opens up with the boxing, and then he becomes a grappler, right? So it's like the same thing that you said about Francis Ngannou. We're going to have to get it on a shirt. Folks, we're going to have some merch here soon, so don't trip. We got you. But, oh, so you're a wrestler now? That's what Khama Worthy was saying to Mullarkey, except he was saying, oh, you're a boxer now, huh? Okay, and I think that Khama Worthy, his eyes got a little bit too big, right? You know what I mean? I think he says, oh, this is what you want to do? All right, bro. And then got caught. And that's all it takes, right? Hands low. How impressive was Jamie Mullarkey in the limited performance that we got from him, man? What stood out to you?
In the very limited performance, just that, man, his striking. It was beautiful, and I think he took the right approach to it because he got Khama Worthy excited that he was doing something different than wrestling. He's like, oh, we're not going to have to wrestle now. Yay! Like, let's go! And just, man, that beautiful little fake with the right, just so you can get Khama Worthy to extend his hand was, oh, my God. Like, it's what you want to see. Like, oh, it's so beautiful just to see Khama just go, oh, like extend his hand like he's going to block, and then dink. Yeah. It was beautiful.
Yeah, it was incredible. It was incredible, man. And, I was completely surprised. And that was one of those things where you saw the DC reaction where he was like, oh, and he was like, you only get those when you absolutely do not think that's how the outcome of the fight is going to play out, right? So, like, fair game to Jamie Mullarkey, you know what I mean? Back to the drawing board for Khama Worthy. What do you think about Khama Worthy? How much does this hurt his stock? He just got knocked out by a wrestler.
That's what I was gonna say, man. You got knocked out by a wrestler, and I think probably like 2 or 3% of people even thought that was possible. So I mean, he looked good. Don't get me wrong, he looked good, and I think he just got caught up in the moment. He was expecting to come out and wrestle. He got very excited that he was gonna stand and bang, show his skill set, and he just got caught. He's definitely gonna drop. He's definitely gonna drop, and I know he's in like the 20s or something right now, maybe even a little lower. So I'd say it does hurt because, man, you got knocked out by a wrestler.
Yeah, man, it's rough. And what I'm looking at right now, so actually, he's not quite that high up the rankings right now in terms of the Tapology worldwide rankings. Khama Worthy is mid-40s. He's about 44. So I anticipate Jamie Mullarkey, who is even worse, he was ranked number 69, to move up about 25 spots to that 44 spot. So it's good on, on Jamie Mullarkey. But for Khama Worthy, man, you still got a long way to go to get to that top 15, man. And obviously, the Tapology rankings aren't set in stone, and it's like exactly this way, man. But nonetheless, man. All right, man, let's talk about this main event then. Because like I said, we had 4 finishes on this main card, right? 260 actually turned out, the pay-per-view portion turned out very, very well. A lot better than I actually anticipated, especially because Volkanovski Ortega was scrapped and that was a championship bout. But nonetheless, Francis Ngannou, and we got a new champion. He's reigning out of Africa. We got 3 African champions in the UFC right now: the welterweight champion in Kamaru Usman, the heavyweight champion in Francis Ngannou, newly minted, and then of course Stylebender, the middleweight champion. Man, we got 3 African kings right now. This is a great time for the UFC, but what's more important is the scariest, baddest man on the planet holds that gold, and I don't know who's going to be able to take it from him. But let's do a little bit of recap on Stipe Miocic, Francis Ngannou, number 2. The fight opens up just as you expect it, right? At least it's how I expected. I'm like, okay, Ngannou learned his lesson. He's going to sit back. Just stand in the center of the cage. And at that point, Miocic, he's circling around, but what did Ngannou do that I was talking about, AJ? Calf kicks, baby, calf kicks. That's the key, right? You do a couple of them things, what's Miocic gonna do, right? And what he started to say, God, oh, my leg's starting to hurt, bro. All right, I gotta move forward or something, you know what I mean? Round 1, Stipe almost got finished, right? So let's talk about the moment you saw that sprawl, right? The moment you saw Stipe go for the takedown, I'm thinking, okay, rinse, wash, repeat. Here we go, baby. Easy money, right? And then I see Francis Ngannou not only shoelaces down, toes down with the sprawl, with the wrestling sprawl, but like muscle memory, like clockwork. All right, take the back. He immediately circled out to take the back, and I thought, I'm not going to lie to you, AJ, I was like, oh my God, is Ngannou about to submit this fucking guy, bro? Like, is he about to submit him? Like, that'd be the craziest ending nobody would have anticipated. But no, he's raining down big shots from behind, and the chin of Stipe somehow withstood. Man, what were you thinking when that was happening?
When I saw hips back, legs out, toes down, sprawl, I was just like, oh shit, like... what the fuck? Like, for real, this is happening? Nobody saw this coming. We were saying, show me something different. This motherfucker showed us exactly different, man. They were working hard at Extreme Couture. Like you said, muscle memory, man. He hit the ground. He had Stipe turtled up. He literally spun sideways, got the back mount. Bro, I normally I'd say I scream. I was excited. I was literally just like what? The fuck?
It's one of those moments, right, where you like, oh, I'm so nervous, I'm so tight, I'm just like watching in silence, like mind blown, like, oh my God, you know. And so I thought the fight was over. I'm not gonna lie to you. Stipe, I mean, dude, we gotta call him the man of steel or something. This dude's chin is incredible, right? He's just eating them. He even got hit in the back of the head a couple of times, and he was just eating them, right? Last till round 2, and his corner says, hey, Stipe, man, you got to get a little more offensive. And Stipe's sitting there looking like, bro, like, I know, dog, like, I get it. Like, it's a little harder than, you know what I mean? It's easier said than done, right? Comes out in the second, and here's where I need to ask you. I just need to ask you just your perspective on this, AJ, man. I was so confused because I see, okay, Miocic, he's doing his thing. He actually catches Ngannou, right? You know, he's throwing a couple things, he's moving forward. He catches Ngannou after he gets rocked, and he thinks for whatever reason, that like he rocked Ngannou. And I'm like, okay, even if you think he's wobbled or off balance, it's round 2, bro. Like the striking comes in round 4, you know, that's when we start going. Right now, shoot for the double. You got him rocked. He's off balance. Shoot for the takedown. I think that Stipe says, you know, when I didn't get that first takedown, he hit me pretty damn hard. I don't think I want to go there. And from that point, that's when I realized, okay, if the wrestling's out, there's nothing left Stipe can do. And what happens? He rushes in, gets caught with a counter left hook, and that's it. After getting dropped with a jab just, you know, a couple seconds earlier. And that goes to show. I mean, Ngannou just drops people with jabs, you know what I mean? He knocked him out with just a little doot. It was basically the Mullarkey shot, except Mullarkey's was like an overhand left, and Ngannou's was just a little counter, man. So, and Stipe Miocic, he's folded over like Mirko Krokop back in the old Pride days, man. He's folded over like a lawn chair. It looked terrible. That's not how you want the GOAT of the heavyweight division to go out ever, man. But this is clearly a new era that we are approaching in MMA, in the UFC, right? We're going back to the Mike Tyson days of combat sports, where we have the baddest man on the planet. The heavyweight champion is an individual who no one could even imagine being dethroned, right? when Deontay Wilder was the champion, it was like, all right, bro, you still don't really know how to box yet. You know what I'm saying? Like, you still need to figure a couple things out. You got that uber power in that right hand knocking him out and all of that good stuff. But at the end of the day, you ain't like the Mike Tyson destroyer of worlds. Well, that's what Francis Ngannou is, people. And I know you know that. I know I was on the preview show talking big for Stipe Miocic, but hey, you got to bet on the man because he proved us wrong time after time after time. But it's something that Yanni the Greek, who is he's one of the betting guys for UFC on the line or whatever the case, right? He had just said, he was like, you know, people are betting on Miocic because he beat Ngannou the first time. That's not how you're supposed to bet, and it's true. If you're a true like gambler like that, and I mean not to say that I am, but for those who truly are, yeah, you don't take that in too much into consideration. It's a completely new fight. This is years later, improved fighters. But he did say this, which was really interesting, man. He says Stipe Miocic is going to have to fight the perfect fight twice, and I just don't see that happening. And that's exactly. Literally, like it looked like a prophecy. So give me your thoughts. Just give me your thoughts overall, man, on this new era that we have entered, on on Francis Ngannou being crowned, seeing the gold around his waist, man. Give me some impressions.
I'm excited because, one, Francis Ngannou's getting the shine that I feel like he finally deserves, man. He's been working hard, and obviously he's putting the work in. So I'm really excited for that. Two, I wanted to add in what I was noticing about Francis Ngannou when he's striking. Like, most people hurt you at the end of their punches.
Yeah.
That's where the most dangerous. He was literally able to hit you, the definition of punching through somebody, and he was literally punching through Stipe. It was incredible to see, and I'm very excited for that exact thing, that power and that scariness and that ferocity of the Mike Tyson era, where he was just baptizing people, man. I think that we're expecting that from Francis Ngannou, and he can deliver, man. He can deliver very well, especially now that he knows how to defend against the ground. Overall takeaway, man, I was just blown away with the amount of power he had, how calm and reserved he was able to stay in the chaos. And then, man, that defense, man, that ground game defense and the sprawl, it was just, it's going to be scary to see anybody who's willing to stand against that man in a locked octagon.
I agree, and I would need a lot of money to do it, so I understand Jon Jones' hesitations on getting in there with him, man. But I will have to say this, man, and he is the champ, man. I got to eat my crow, right? I got to be excited for the man because I didn't think he'd be able to get past Stipe, and he did, so I'm giving him his flowers while he's still here to be able to recognize them joints. But I don't think Stipe is done, man. I think Stipe still got some fight left in him. I don't think he should retire, and I do think we should see a rematch, which we'll talk about in just a couple seconds when we hit our matchmaking portion. I just want to note this last thing before we move on to our next segment. This is one of those things where I'll give you your opportunity too. I don't know if you have it lined up. I probably should have told you. Probably should have did a little pre-show. You know what I'm saying? Configurations there. But one fighter who really impressed you, who was on the prelims, who we don't get to talk about. I'll go first to give you a second to kind of think about somebody. But I'm gonna have to say Abu Bakar Nurmagomedov, man. Holy shit, this dude. First and foremost, he is a welterweight who is carrying the Nurmagomedov name, who almost nobody knows about, right? Because they're too busy worried about Umar and Khabib and Saeed Nurmagomedov. No, this is Abu Bakar, man. This is Manep. This is an individual who I thought had no chance against Jaron Gooden except on wrestling, right? Not because of the lack of skill, but because of the 5-inch reach disadvantage. I'm like, dude, you got a lot of ground to cover. This dude looked crispy, man, in the boxing, in the wrestling, to piece up Jaron Gooden like that, who is the definition of scary, the definition of if looks could kill. He got it done, and I just got to shine a little bit of light, man. He ended up getting a dub on Jaron Gooden via unanimous decision, which I'll say this just about Jaron Gooden, man. I'm surprised you didn't get finished, homie. You got a lot of heart, a lot of resilience, man. Who stood out to you before we move on, AJ?
No, that was a great fight. That was an impressive fight. But one of them stood out to me. It was actually both fighters. It was the Modestas Bukauskas versus Oleg Sejic.
Yeah,
because that was a banger. That was a banger, and that was a classic. Like, so Oleg Sejic just gonna walk you down. You're gonna stand there, counter bang, and it was very impressive. And just seeing the heart on those two dudes, watch them coming up. Like, it's gonna be very impressive to see those fighters in the future.
I agree. It sucks that one of them had to lose, right? Because they both really brought it. But at the end of the day, man, we ain't got enough time for that. Let's keep it pushing, folks. Let's do a little bit of matchmaking, AJ. Let's keep it quick because I want to hit a little bit of news at the end. So just give me one fight and I'll give you one fight. Let's start off at the top. Francis Ngannou. We already know the answer. It's Jon Jones. Just give me this take, right? Francis Ngannou moves to 16-3. He's on a 5-fight win streak, man. Jon Jones, 26-1. He's on a 17-fight win streak. How many rounds before Jones gets knocked out? Listen, that's just my take. take. That's just my take. But a 1. Okay, so we agree. All right, it's all it takes. It's 1. I'm thinking maybe 2. But Stipe, I think he's got the best chin in the heavyweight division. And Jon Jones is a light heavyweight. Let's not forget, man. You could get all that muscle, man. But I think the physiology that goes with that button on your chin, I don't think that that's going to build up there with you, man. So unless you got something crazy, unless you're about to heel hook him or do something ridiculous to get him out early, man, especially if it's in a small cage, good luck taking the belt from this man, Francis Ngannou. That's all I have to say. And eventually, not next, because I don't think that's even how it worked when DC beat Stipe the first time. I don't think Stipe got an immediate rematch. I think that DC had to fight Derek Lewis, and then he went. So I'm thinking, get the Jon Jones fight out the way, and then give Stipe the rematch, the trilogy, the one he deserves, because this is a 5-time defending heavyweight champion. So I'm just saying. All right, man, this is the one that's really interesting, right? Vicente Luque. Now we can get a little bit of interesting because he goes from number 10 in the welterweight division to number 7. He clearly wants to get on that route to get that belt, and he ain't got too many people in between you and the champion. So there's only 2 options that make sense to me, and the number 1 thing that makes sense, because the other one would be a rematch, and I'm sure you know who I'm talking about. But number 6, Michael Chiesa. I want to see what the grinder can do against a savage like Vicente Luque, man. I think that'd be a really interesting fight, and Michael Chiesa, who is on a 4-fight win streak, actually doesn't have opponent lined up yet. What do you think?
Ben, that's actually a better idea than what I was coming up with. Obviously, I think we both had the Stephen Thompson fight. But who I was going for was Gilbert Burns. Another one's kind of coming off a little shake. But man, Michael Chiesa is a grinder. Oh yeah. And I think that'd be a little bit better for Vicente Luque instead of throwing him to the dogs right away. So I would much prefer that. I obviously we have the Stephen Thompson, but.
Yeah, I mean, that'd be a rematch, and I think that after getting 4 wins since that loss would probably warrant a rematch. But if you look at Stephen Thompson, his last fight was actually the Vicente Luque fight, I believe, right? So it's like he's only fought like twice since 2019, 2020 or whatever, right? He hasn't been very active at all. So for him, you might not see incentive. He's like, I just want to fight the champion, dude. What are we talking about? But nonetheless, man, Vicente Luque's very promising future, and Michael Chiesa, I think just because Michael Chiesa can maintain top control without getting submitted, man, I think it'd be interesting, man. But this is one where we can really go anywhere, man, because this dude isn't even ranked, man. The Suga Show. Who's Suga Show fighting next, man? I'm thinking this. I don't know if you saw this, but he got called out. He got called out by Cody Stamann. What do you think about that?
Cody Stamann. That's okay. I can see a wrestler. Yeah, I'm with that, because that's the one thing we haven't seen tested yet against a grappler who's going to consistently bring that pressure. But one I was thinking, because I think he needs somebody with a little more notoriety. I don't know if he'll go Cody Stamann, because where would you rank Cody Stamann on the hit list? You know what I'm saying? Like, is he of note where Sugar's going to keep climbing? I don't know. I personally had Marlon Moraes. I think that'd be a great fight. I don't know if Marlon Moraes has anybody lined up. He didn't in Tapology, but that'd be another striker, man. That'd be another striker. So I'm interested to see the Stamann fight. I don't know if it'll happen because of media and, position and all that stuff, but
well, what would have to take place first is Cody Stamann. He's ranked number 13 right now in the bantamweight division. He's got a fight lined up against Merab Dvalishvili. So that's going to be wrestler versus fucking grinder of a wrestler right there. So 13 versus 12. That bout takes place on May 1st. So folks, look out for that one. Definitely coming up soon. And Stamann, he's on a 5-fight win streak, man. Dvalishvili, I believe, is Dvalishvili is on a 5-fight win streak. Stamann's on a one-fight losing streak. Apologies about that. Got that one mixed up. But just really quickly, I know I only said 1, but this one's really interesting to me. How about number 16th ranked? He's right outside of that top 15. Raoni Barcelos, man. The dude's on a 9-fight win streak. And you want to talk about a dude who could mix it up? Got 8 knockouts on his record. He could take it to the ground. What do you think?
I actually when I was scrolling through Tapology, I saw Raoni Barcelos as well. And I mean, anyone that we can get a little bit of ground game, I think is a good idea for the Suga Show.
I just think Barcelos is a bigger name than a Cody Stamann, even a Dvalishvili, because I know Dvalishvili, but go talk to your homie, just randomly, be like, hey, you know about this dude, Merab Dvalishvili, dude likes to dive headfirst into like frozen ponds and fucking cut his face open. You know that guy, right? They'll be like, no, I have no fucking clue who that is. Anyways, all right, so good. Suga Show, whoever it's going to be next, man, it needs to be a test. At this point, you need to start really testing yourself, because Thomas Almeida was a test, but like like I said, he was suited so perfectly for that style. But how about Miranda Maverick, man? Women's flyweight, clearly she wants to fight Antonina Shevchenko, so that's clearly one that we can put down. But we already talked about it or we didn't, but they talked about it in the pre-fight or in the post-fight interview with Miranda Maverick. She says that she's been keeping her eye on number 12, Antonina Shevchenko, facing off against number 11, Andrea Lee, on May 15th. Now, the problem is Lee is on a 3-fight losing streak and Shevchenko is only on a 1-fight win streak. So either one of those fighters, they don't really carry too much weight for you necessarily. Shevchenko would be the big name in the narrative. Andrea Lee, I don't really know if that would be the move, but I think this one would be a little more interesting. And I know that you enjoy this one, AJ, both of these fighters. How about the winner of number 13th ranked Taila Santos versus number 9 ranked Roxanne Modafferi? That bout is taking place on May 8th. I think that'd be a much better test of skills with higher level name recognition. Maybe not Santos, but with the Roxanne Modafferi. She's clearly the gatekeeper. We've already talked about it. How does that sound to you?
Well, Modafferi definitely has the name recognition, and she has the repertoire. You know, she's back in the day. Taila Santos, man, that's a tough night out. That's a tough night. I don't know. I don't even know if Maverick wants that smoke. I'd be excited. Yeah. The one I had was Alexa Grasso, just because that makes sense to me. It's above, but
on the feet, I don't know if Maverick has what it takes to stand with Grasso. Her boxing is just next level, man. Now, on the ground, we've seen Grasso with massive improvements, but Miranda's a grinder, man. So, regardless, man, big things for the Maverick, man. Fear the Maverick, because she's a scary one. And lastly, on our main card, man, Jamie Mullarkey, we just got to figure out where he's going to go. Dude's now, my estimated ranking, put him at around 44. So, still, who is this dude about to fight? Here's an interesting one, just because these two, I don't know if they're friends. I don't know if they know each other, but I know they're both grinders. And I love their style, and I like to see how they test up against each other individually. But how about Steamroller Matt Frevola facing off against Jamie Mullarkey in the Ultimate Grind Fest, or one other? I'm sorry, I want to let you get yours off, but this one I think that you might be able to relate a little bit more because of just his legendary status of the game and because he's already called for a prospect. Clay Guida, ranked about 33, facing off against Jamie Mullarkey. What you think?
Yeah, so I had Clay Guida and then Bobby Green. I think Bobby Green needs somebody to come and bang with, and you know, why not? Give him Mullarkey. He showed he could bang, but in wrestle as well. So no, I think the Clay Guida fight's the one to make.
I mean, come on, man. You're getting a grinder either way, whether it's Frevola or Guida, but with Guida, that comes with the name recognition, and that's going to catapult you into a completely new spot. And Jamie Mullarkey deserves it, bro. He's had some tough luck so far in the UFC, but like I had said, the only reason why I didn't think that he's going to be able to get the job done against the boy, Khama Worthy, the only reason I didn't think so is because Khama Worthy's got the death touch, man. But clearly, he outstruck the striker, and you know what I mean? I had to eat my words on that one, too. But nonetheless, that is our matchmaking portion of the show. And we're going to move on right here. Just a little bit of, you know, see what the word on the street is, folks. So if you still tuned in with us, man, drop a like, subscribe, all that good stuff. So we can hit all the content that you need, give you all the info you need, all the recap analysis and all that. But we ain't got much to talk about necessarily on the word on the street today. The MMA news hasn't been too active other than, you know, the wins, losses, potential matchups coming together. But this is one thing of note. This is a throwback for the OGs of the game who have been watching the UFC for a long time, watching MMA for a long time. Miesha Tate is looking to make her UFC return, man. And she says the return is not about money. She says she is truly and honestly in a content place, and she is looking to make another title run. Now, former UFC women's bantamweight champion, right? You know, Miesha Tate, a lot of name recognition. She's synonymous with Ronda Rousey, right? You think Ronda Rousey, you think Miesha Tate, you think maybe Ngannou, you know, but Miesha Tate was like the rival, right? She's really good grinder on the ground, man. What do you think about this? What do you think about just OGs of the game coming back? Is it even warranted at this point? What are we talking about?
It's a little more palatable for me in the women's division.
Sure.
Just a little bit, because, man, when you think of old fighters coming back, I think Chuck Liddell.
Yeah,
I don't want to see anything like that ever again. When Chucky was throwing shadow boxing, we knew he should never be in the ring again. He got in. We saw what happened. It was rough to watch. Now, Miesha Tate, it's a little bit more palatable, like I said, because is she going to go in there and get knocked out and get completely obliterated? Probably not. Like, it's a lot less of a chance. Now, big recognition. Now, how much of it do you believe it's actually not for money is the thing that I'm seeing. Because if she's coming in for talent and recognition, are we gonna put her against, you know, the top of the division?
Well, she's already got a bout lined up, and that's against Marion Renault. Marion Renault's retirement fight is going to be against Miesha Tate. And that goes to show, right? So they're giving her number 12 off the bat. So they're giving her a ranked opponent immediately. And that's my thing, though. I was like, you know, Marion Renault, did she lose to Macy Chiasson? She did. But was she like completely out of that fight? Absolutely not, man. So this is going to be a dog fight in Miesha Tate's first fight back. And my thing is, so to answer your question about, is this potentially about money, right? She says it's absolutely not. But she was the one championship vice president. And now she's back fighting. Last time I checked, you don't become a vice president or a president or whatever and then go back to becoming a fighter. Like, that's so far below where you were at one point. And the thing that we have to point out on this one is that in Singapore right now, the COVID restrictions are a lot stricter. They're more strict than they are out here in the United States, especially things are starting to open up a little bit, right? So one thing, word on the street, and this is taken from, you know, always got to give credit to the source, right? The Weighing In podcast, Big John McCarthy and Stephen Thompson, one thing they noted was that basically, it could have been a family thing, right? They're like, I don't like the living conditions here, so we got to get the fuck out of here. So saying like, all right, peace, I'm out this job because I'm not trying to be stuck in my house. You have to pay fines, go to jail for stepping outside, living in Singapore. You know, Singapore has notoriously very strict rules. Like, I think one of the crazy one is like if you litter chewing gum and you throw your gum on the ground or something like that, or if you're caught with chewing gum, it's like a fat fine or something. It's just some things that are a little culture shock to us here in America, right? But nonetheless, man, listen, my big point on this and the reason why I brought this up today is similarly to, I'm going to blank on his name. It's not Tavares, dude's a boxer. Antonio Tarver, he was supposed to fight Frank Mir in this boxing exhibition match, right? And I know, right? I had the same look. I was like, goddamn. Antonio Tarver, man, OG, yeah, fighting Roy Jones back in the day, dude, but you're like 50. Like, what are we doing? Frank Mir, you're like a 40-year-old. Like, stop. No, we don't need this, right? And it would have been Frank Mir's boxing debut, first boxing match he'd ever taken. But the reason why I brought this up, once again, is because they actually crossed that batch out. They're like, no. The commission in the specific state they were going to fight in, which I believe it could have been Georgia or something else like that. I don't have it in front of me right now, but they said, hey, man, you know, being that you're above 50 years old, you need to have X amount of fights in the last 10 years for you to qualify to get your license to be able to fight. And I was like, good. That we need more of that. I like that. Say, hey, let's do some checks and balances and say, like, you know what, man, I don't think you need to be fighting. You know what I mean? I don't want to take away your liberties and your freedoms, but like, I'm trying to look out for your health, and you're this old dude, and if you want the money, there's a lot of other ways to get money. You ain't got to go and put yourself in a spot that seems to be all the rage, right? Because let me be honest with you, AJ, or let me ask you this question. Seeing the Jake Pauls versus Ben Askrens and all these YouTubers and these randoms who think that they have what it takes to be a fighter, they're finding out that people will pay for whatever the fuck these days, man. People will pay whatever to be entertained, and it's pretty incredible to me. But I guess my closing point on this one is that it's like, hey, man, the more we can get a little more seriousness in this thing that is MMA, because this is not a joke, man. You know, CTE is real. Not knowing where your keys are, not knowing how to communicate anymore, not having proper motor function at 50 years old is not a very uncommon thing in this sport. You don't need to fight. If you have other resources, you don't need to fight, man. And I truly believe this, man. Fighting, notoriously, globally across the world, has been a poor man's sport, and we've always known this, man. So I just say this, man. My parting advice for the people, man, for the people, the real ones, please don't fight if you don't have to, man. If you love it, go and train, do everything, but you do not have to fight to make a living, because it's one of the hardest ways to absolutely make a living. Now, I know we're about to close out, and I know I took a big chunk of that time. So, AJ, give me some parting words before we get out of here.
Yeah, man, I love it. I agree with you 100%. I think there needs to be more accountability for the safety of the sport, because you're right. You know, we all step in there to throw some hands and bang it out, but we don't need to do that if we're inhibited or all. Like, I don't want to see my dad or my grandpa step in the ring when they're not trained. Like, no, man, you don't want to. Like, that's just sad to see. You know, I want to see somebody who's stepping in there to kill. Yeah. So this trained killers, but at the end of the day, you know, I'm happy to see it. I'm happy to see it. So
yeah, exactly, man. Like I said, a little regulation is nice. Not too much regulation, but just a little something. Hey, Chuck Liddell, you don't need to come back, bro. You know, Roy Jones, Mike, Iron Mike, I know you want to come back. You're good, bro. And lastly, because we don't even need to talk about this, Oscar De La Hoya has announced that he's making a boxing return. So that's what I'm talking about, bro. This is becoming just joke territory at this point. So, folks, that was it. We assessed the damage. Look, go get it together. You go, bro. We assessed the damage. We kept it pushing. We did a little bit of matchmaking, and we hollered at the word on the street, man. You always got to keep your ear to the streets, you know? So, ultimately, drop a like, subscribe, hit the notification bell that lets you know every single time we drop an episode, man. You subscribe to the channel. AJ, you know this, right? all the people know this, you subscribe to the channel and you get access to 3 episodes of MMA content every single week, a preview show, a post show, and a betting show. So if you want to make some money, tune in. If you want to get educated picks, tune in. And if you want to recap because you were too lazy to watch the fights or you didn't want to pay $70 for 5 fights, tune in. That's ultimately what we're coming down to. Me and AJ, we about to go and refresh ourselves, get a little bit of water, you know what I'm saying, all that good stuff. But folks, that's it. Until next time, peace.